Get your keyboards ready because we're going to get into this. And oh boy, is it going to be a wild one, I'm sure.
You know what? I think one of the things that really, you were hot, but
I used to be hot. Oh my God, I was so hot.
You were so hot.
Yeah.
Dude, when I saw you naked, I cried and I looked up at God and I go, thank you.
I was really hot.
Yeah.
You're actually okay. Your making out needs work.
I thought I was pretty good.
But I just don't want to talk about that.
Oh, right. Let's move on. Anyway, let's move on. Okay.
The most toxic relationship in podcasting just got worse. Out of all the dramas that Bobby Lee has been involved in, his breakup with Khalyla Kuhn ranks near the top. This story has everything from betrayal to threats to blackmail, even escalating to the point that Joe Rogan had to get involved. But just when you thought things had died down over the last 12 months, overnight things escalated quickly. Khalyla is making a comeback to TigerBelly and almost...
You know, it's funny. I stopped watching or listening to the TigerBelly podcast when it became really involved with, like Kahlyla was a part of it, but she wasn't the focus. Does that make sense? But as soon as she started becoming like a main character, like more than Bobby at times, I was like, you know what? Something ain't right here. And the way she would talk to other people on the podcast made me really uncomfortable. 'Cause I'm like, does this guy, like, as an outside person, I'm like, dude, is this your wife, your girlfriend talking to people like this? You should not let her do that. Or, maybe he's cool with it, but I just thought it was really weird and I just don't want to be listening to that. So that's one of the reasons why I stopped listening to it.
Everyone is unhappy about it. It's actually insane. I've never seen a backlash like this before. And I make videos about Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, and Andrew Schultz. This is different though. This is reaching Brendan Schaub levels of hate. And ironically, Brendan Schaub actually has a lot to do with this. Honestly, this shit writes itself. See, the TigerBelly podcast was actually Khalyla's brainchild. When she met Bobby Lee over a decade ago, he wasn't who he is now. He was a broke comedian doing Hollywood gigs and stand-up shows, but hadn't really broken through yet. According to Kahlyla, she saw the potential in Bobby and started the TigerBelly podcast as a joint venture 10 years ago.
But it wasn't just her though. Like, does that make sense? Like, because when I was listening, it was that whole group dynamic, but it was also because it was Bobby. A lot of us grew up watching him, but there was times and it felt like it was her episode, and it was like, I don't care for this. This is getting weird.
They were one of the early comedy podcasts and subsequently grew it into what you see today, with over 500 episodes and nearly 1 million subscribers on YouTube. However, in the second half of last year, Kahlyla took time off from the podcast to deal with some health issues. Some have speculated that she had a secret pregnancy that she wanted to keep out of the spotlight, which I haven't been able to verify, or she was dealing with mental health issues around all the hate she received off of the back of her breakup with Bobby Lee and the subsequent Brendan Schaub situation in 2022. Whatever the reason, she came back for a couple of episodes here and there over Christmas and the New Year, but then she took another long break, making her first appearance on the show in months yesterday. And like I said, I've never seen anything like this before. It got so bad that the producers had to start deleting comments, but then things got so out of hand that there was nothing they could do about it. Holy cow, with all these comments disappearing and the amount of similar comments, the team will be busy hitting delete for the next few days. Literally destroying this.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's go back. I want to read the other one. Okay, why is the succubus back? True. She ruined the energy and legitimately is upsetting to listen to. It's like an abusive parent that suddenly shows back up 6 months later. Someone argued that kind of her vibe literally starts the podcast with her being negative towards him for not lifting weights, and instead of just being happy he is losing weight. Now, I haven't seen the podcast episode, so I'm not going to speak to that specifically, but as somebody who did watch this back in the day, she did this is stuff that she did, like she would do. So it's like the fact that I'm like, I believe it, because she used to do that years ago when I used to listen to this. That's crazy. Like nothing changed. What a time to be alive.
The team will be busy hitting delete for the next few days. Literally destroying
Literally destroying this show and losing listeners in droves just to simp is wild. Should we react to? Can we react to the whole podcast on this episode on this channel? I don't want to get in trouble, but maybe we could. Maybe we'll stream it. I watched every single episode of this show, and it's absurd the amount of times Kahlyla egotistically, I don't know. Basically, she just talks about herself. That's kind of why I stopped listening to. We all know this. Bobby, buy her out. If you need a GoFundMe for the buyout, trust me, we would support it. The vibes on this were horrible. There's no way y'all think this is normal. Jesus Christ, I need to see this. Having 8 people in the room for a podcast sucks. What? No, we need to watch this. No, hey, low key. That's like one of the funniest comments I've seen in a long time. If I ever start a podcast, which I know you guys have been asking me to, and trust me, I've been working on it. This better be one of the first comments, and it'd be rough. And if it's like it would just be one of those inside jokes that refer to back to this video. Oh my god! Someone should just comment this in my video. Having 8 people for a podcast sucks. Yeah, I don't know how they do it. I really don't know anything about podcasts. I'll be honest.
this show and losing listeners in droves just to simp is wild. Bobby, buy her out. If you need a GoFundMe for the buyout, trust me, we would support it. If the team or anyone actually cares about Bobby's mental health, they would give him some advice on not having her on anymore. Clearly, they are there just for his money. Kinda tired of them forcing their dysfunctional dynamic on the fans. It's time to move on, guys. It adds literally nothing to the show but awkwardness. If she comes back permanently, I can guarantee you myself and many others won't be back. Reading the comments, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. Like I was saying, there are hundreds and hundreds of comments saying things along the same lines. By the way, quick shout out to all of you from my main channel, Podcast Cringe, for coming over here and subscribing to my new channel. I appreciate your support, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my uploads throughout the week. And so if you're new to this whole situation...
Oh God, here we go. All right, so he's going to break it down. Because again, I haven't kept up with all this, but I'm anticipating it's been building.
It all goes back to 2022 when Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen tried to blackmail Bobby and Kahlyla, threatening to go public with their breakup if Bobby didn't get Kahlyla and her friends to stop telling stories about Brendan Schaub being a sleazebag. This forced Bobby to come out and tell everyone the truth.
I could see myself out of the relationship in terms of like giving her what she needs. You know, women, they need cuddles, they need attention, they need intimacy, they need all the, and I was not giving her anything. I was just playing video games and like watching porn all day, you know what I mean? And she would say, every day, she would cry and be like, what about me? What's going on? And I'd just be like, I'm just not, I don't know, I'm going through something. I would make some sort of excuse, you know, and in the last 2 or 3 years, we had sex maybe twice.
What?
Yeah. She's getting a lot of things on the internet, you know what I mean? And I have to take 95% of the blame, really, I think, you know? I really believe that.
So there are...
But is it though? Because I think there isn't there a huge age difference? I'm pretty sure Bobby's pretty old. So it's like a different dynamic entirely. Like, what did she expect? What did he expect?
A number of reasons why Kahlyla copped a massive backlash during that period, which has continued over the last couple of years, and like I just showed you earlier, it escalated overnight. For me personally, there's one reason in particular that got under my skin and turned me against her, which I'll go into more detail towards the end of this video, so stick around for that. And yes, it involves your boy Brendan Schaub. Man, making this video made me rediscover how much of an absolute asshole that guy is.
I can't stand him. He's so annoying. I mean, he's one of the reasons why I couldn't even watch. Because I tried to get into all these comedian podcasts. I tried. I'll be honest. I think comedian podcasts are entertaining, but they also just get old so fast. Extremely fast. Especially when it's a bunch of millionaires trying to talk about things that they put no effort into, and it's just like, bro, please just try a little bit harder. Like, we get it. You don't need to, but you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. But you know, it's a state of podcast. Like, so I don't really like hold it against anybody. It's just not for me. But I say all that to say, one of the things that made all those podcasts worse is how involved this guy was in all of them. They just kept wanting to have him on the show, and it's just like, bro, I'm not listening to this dude. This guy's a clown. He's a symptom of everybody. He's just like everyone else almost. Like, oh my God.
Anyway, the thing is, Bobby's always been quite open about his own issues. Like you saw in that clip there, he's admitted to having intimacy problems and just social problems in general, which is partly what makes him so funny, right? But at the same time, it was clear that most people were on Bobby's side and were just happy to see him single and free again.
He's just a good dude. I'm happy to see him happy.
Yeah, me too.
And I bet his DMs are filled with bomb digging.
Hell yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of girls want to take up where Khalyla left off. Let me show you some next level. But now they also realize they could get famous if they're Bobby Lee's girlfriend. There's probably a lot of those girls.
It's so dangerous nowadays.
So it's got to duck them. You got to know which one's a sociopath.
Yeah.
Which one's pretending they like you. And which one just really likes funny guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the other reasons many people turned on her.
One of the reasons why if this channel pops off, I'll probably die alone because I would never trust anybody.
They felt that she had exploited Bobby's talents while he was vulnerable and roped him into a partnership on the TigerBelly podcast so that she could profit from his rise to fame. But I'll come back to that in a moment because from the get-go in the latest episode of the show that she'd been absent from for so long, literally her first words were putting Bobby down, and their viewers weren't happy about it.
I just saw our family doctor, Kawashiri.
Yeah.
And he was like, how's Bobby doing? I was like, he's a skinny mini. And he unfortunately agrees with Alex. You cannot be on the Ozemps without eating protein and
that's
working
so
out.
unfortunate.
He was like, I'm going to tell him.
Sorry, Dr. Alex. I mean,
Because you're just wasting away into like Kate Moss.
away.
She obviously didn't realize that there would be so much hate for her in
She just maybe I don't want to start a podcast. Also, let me know what you think about the lighting. I didn't want to turn on this light because it's late at night and I don't want to have two bright ass lights on my face. I know it's more dramatic, but it's not because I'm trying to change the scene or anything. I just literally don't want this light in my face right now. But let me know what you think about that. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. When is this saga going to end? I'm so over it.
this episode because when she came back for the Christmas special around 5 months ago, the reception wasn't nearly as bad as this. So she walked right into that one by starting off by shitting on Bobby like that. But it seems like everyone else missed the memo too. Instead of just getting on with the interview and bringing Ari Matti into the studio, their co-hosts thought they'd stir things up again. This was all on the first few minutes of the podcast.
He still talks to you about who's he hooking up with, or
Yeah, Jaime, we're friends.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Who is this? I don't even know who this is. I mean, you could also say that about me. So it's all valid and fair.
It's okay.
Why do you keep looking down, dude?
Me or him? 'Cause
Well, are you still with your? Wait, we're gonna.
No, I'm single now. But I don't talk to her
You
about.
cycle fast too, huh?
You guys ever dream about each other?
Wait, hey, guys, that's a good question. Go ahead, be honest.
Be honest.
Be honest.
Yeah,
Well, I think okay.
not in like a sexual way.
No, but what life would have been
Oh.
if I stayed.
Oh my god! What are you doing? Oh my god!
And so after the Estonian assassin came in and saved the day, things looked like they were turning up again, but it didn't take long for it to go pear-shaped. Here's the thing. Not all the hate was directed just at Kahlyla. I think Bobby has a lot to answer for here as well because people are sick of hearing about their relationship and even just the toxic dynamic between the two of them on screen. Their relationship was so loaded and their breakup became so public thanks to Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen that even the most innocent little digs and banter between them now is surrounded by a toxic undertone. And after so many months of being without Kahlyla and not having to see their skeletons on display, in one episode, it all came flooding back.
I honestly, and I also want to say this, again, as somebody who did enjoy the show back then, like, again, I haven't watched this in years, so, like, I don't want people thinking that I'm just trying to make things worse. But what I'm trying to say is this, as somebody on the outside who was a fan, right? Has been away from it a long time. There's a sense of like, it just gets old. Does that make sense? Like I think what he's saying about the toxicity, that's fine. Maybe you can disagree with this. This is, like I said, in every video, there's probably going to be something. In every video, there's something that everyone can disagree with, right? And this might be one of those where I agree with what he's talking about, the toxicity thing. I completely agree. But I do feel like sometimes, in this case, it may not just be that. It actually might just be that it's gotten old. It's so overdone. It's played out to every extent. Like if you were to take, like, ignore all the toxicity stuff, right? Ignore all the toxicity stuff, pretend it never happened, right? And they just like broke up normally. It's old. Like it's still old and played out. So what I'm trying to say is this. No matter how you cut it, it is so, it's the cake has been baked to a crisp. All right. Them two on the same show should just not be a thing. Does that sound valid? Like, I just feel like I understand he's putting weight into the toxicity thing. I just think no matter how you cut it, it's done. Like, I'm over it. Everybody should be over it. They should not be on the same show. And just move on.
Ari, why do you think?
I would rather eat pussy than fuck.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I've literally eaten chicks' pussies, jacked off, and went home.
Yeah. I love it.
Music to my
Because it's
ears.
also no
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Was I good
the
at
dick
it
doesn't
or
need
no?
to be hard.
Yeah, you're okay. You're okay. You're actually okay. Your making out needs work, but I think
No. Stop.
I hear you're better now.
From who?
The grapevine.
From girlfriends I've met.
On Reddit.
On Raya.
Okay, can I say something? Okay.
Like, that's really weird. Let's listen to that one more time. This is what I'm talking about. Even if they were on good talking terms and it was the good ending, but they still broke up, this whole comment, this whole conversation, this little bit, no matter how you cut it, it's so boring. One, it's so boring. It's so overdone. It's just weird. It's like, come on, talk about things that like could be interesting. Look here, right here. I'm gonna play it again. So take what I was saying, not what this guy was saying that we're reacting to, and tell me you don't feel the same way.
Better now.
From who?
Right here,
Okay.
right here.
You're actually okay. Your making out needs work, but I think
No. Stop.
I hear you're better now.
From who?
The grapevine.
From girlfriends I've met.
On Reddit.
On Raya.
Okay, can I say something? Okay. Number one, I don't like your style either, lady.
What do you mean?
Wow.
Slow and passionate and sensual?
Wow.
I've gotten better.
Oh my god, it's just like always. It's like no matter what Bobby does, it's always cringe and annoying. And whatever Khalyla does, it's like she's right, but also like, can we just try to do something different? And what I mean by do something different, just phrase things differently. So like, here's an example. She says, well, you're okay, right? That's fine. End it there. But then but this is where she went wrong. Well, I heard you got better. Did she? I don't think so. But she's trying to make the podcast more interesting. But by doing that, now we're still stuck on the same fucking shit that we've heard, how many years ago this podcast started? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where, like, it kind of goes back to that comment. How do you have 8 people for a podcast and it still sucks? Just doesn't make any sense to me. Bro, you know what? Now that I think about it, I feel like I shouldn't make a podcast. I don't want to go down this road. I'd rather just talk to you directly. Like, this is probably the one thing I feel very blessed about the direction that we're taking our community versus like a podcast, right? Is that the way I'm talking, and I'm talking to you and I'm talking to the community as a whole. But for the most part, when I'm not talking to the community, like, I'll tell you when I'm talking to everybody at once. But for the most part, I'm talking to you. You specifically. You specifically listen to the video. I am talking to you specifically, and you know this. And usually, like I said again, I talk to the community and I'll say that. But there's a direct line. I love that. I love that dynamic. Whereas, like, when you look at this podcast, there's just so much, like, it's like they got all these people, and yet they're still talking about the same thing they did 5 years ago. I don't know how old this podcast is now. It feels like forever. But you see what I'm saying? It's like you have all these minds, and yet you can't come up with anything new.
Yeah,
That's
that's
good.
what I
At
heard.
kissing?
What?
At kissing?
At
Yeah,
kissing.
kissing.
Yeah. And you said I was okay going down.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
God, man. I thought I was pretty good.
But I just don't want to, like, talk about that.
Oh, right. Let's move on. Anyway,
But she brought it up again. She was the one that brought it back up. You see what I'm saying? It's like, brother, I can't do this. I'm getting tilted. You know what? It's not tilted. It's gaslit.
let's move on. Okay. You know what? I think one of the things that really, you were hot, but but what
Ari, I'm not anymore. I have a face paralysis.
Yeah,
so
you can't notice, but
that's why you were hot.
I remember we were when you were living in Long Beach. We were in
I used
bed.
to be hot. Oh my god, I was so hot.
You were so hot.
Yeah.
Dude, when I saw you naked, I cried and looked up at God and I go, "Thank you."
I was really hot.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're hot now, but but I remember we were in bed together, and do you remember what?
I think Gilbert hates this stuff.
I don't hate it.
Like I was saying, it's not just Khalyla. Bobby clearly hasn't let go of their relationship, even though by his own admission, he wasn't able to give her what she wanted. It seems like he's torturing himself because he's too afraid to let go of her. And the flip side is, people think that Khalyla was cheating on Bobby for years because he refused to be intimate with her.
Come on. I'm pretty sure she did. Come on. Yeah, and at the same time, do I blame her? No. He wasn't providing for her. But at the same time, it's like there's a huge age difference. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember. Maybe I should Google this. You know, I'm not going to Google it. I don't really care that much. But the idea is that there's a cultural difference between their ages at the end of the day. So you have to be understanding that that's something you might step into. And that's why you make compromises based on that. So that's why I don't see it as a big deal. But what I do see that it's an issue with Bobby, it's like, bro, are you saying this because this is what you want to hear? Or are you saying this because you think your fans want to hear this? And regardless of what it is, it's actually the wrong answer on both times.
But kept things going with him so she could keep raking in ad money from the TigerBelly podcast. And obviously, now that they've been broken up for 3 years, everyone's still wondering why they haven't just broken things off officially, and Bobby bought out her stake in the podcast so she can sail off into the sunset. It's pretty obvious that Bobby's the heart and soul of the show. All those episodes without Khalyla over the last 12 months have been doing fine in terms of numbers, but obviously if it were the other way around, the whole show would take a nosedive. But I said at the beginning that there was one specific reason why I turned off Khalyla, and I don't know if it's just where I'm from or how I was brought up, but this was the biggest red flag for me throughout their whole breakup. See if you can pick it up too.
You got to remember too, Rogan's like an older brother to me. When I do anything, I call Rogan. That's how I operate.
Right.
Yeah.
I asked his advice on this, right? And then he would give me his advice how I should handle it.
When you did tell Rogan your version of events, I just want to know, for my own peace of mind, did he believe it?
I don't know. To him, it's like, you're never going to beat the internet, man. I mean,
No, regarding me and Bobby.
no, because I told him it's not you guys.
Okay, but everything else regarding the information that got back to me is that you told Rogan things, obviously, that were very slanderous about me. I want to believe that wasn't the case.
If you never saw that episode of TigerBelly from 2022, the background is that Brendan Schaub was conned into believing that Bobby Lee was one of the masterminds behind the Fighter and the Kids subreddit, and Brendan had 300 pages of supposed evidence that showed an IP address linked to Bobby's home address, which was responsible for a bunch of posts on there. To this day, not a shred of evidence has seen the light of day, so clearly it was all bullshit. But Khalyla and a couple of her friends had also been talking shit about Brendan on the Trash Tuesday podcast. This was the one where Annie Letterman told the story about an unfunny comedian who tried to get her to walk him to his trug. For obvious reasons, she was talking about Brendan Schaub. And so Brendan and Brian got on the phone with Bobby and physically threatened him if he wasn't able to shut Khalyla up and get her to correct the record and stop talking shit about him, etc. They also sent text messages to Bobby claiming to have evidence that he's behind the subreddit. And so to clear the air and hash things out, Khalyla invited Brendan on the TigerBelly podcast, and it didn't take long for her to show her true colours. It was never about protecting and defending Bobby. Her main concern was what people thought about her and the damage to her reputation. In particular, she seemed fixated on what Brendan had said to Joe Rogan and what Rogan thought about her after everything had gone down.
Why does she care? I don't know Joe Rogan, but if I did, I wouldn't care what he thinks about me. Because at the end of the day, they have their own podcast, they have their own show, they're doing their own thing. At the end of the day, like, you have to worry. Like, it's okay to worry about yourself, but if you're let me rephrase what I'm saying. If you're not really understanding why, because you'd be like, oh my God, they're in the same space. She probably does care about what Joe Rogan. Okay, look, at the end of the day, she shouldn't care. If you're Bobby Lee, you probably shouldn't care. When you have your own career and your own thing going and you're kind of in your own space, it does not matter what other people think about you. At the end of the day, they can like you, that's better. But if they don't like you, it's ultimately, believe it or not, a more neutral experience because they just don't interact with you. So what he's saying is, by her being so focused on herself in this situation, makes it more evident that she doesn't like care about Bobby. And I know I'm repeating what he just said, but I want people to understand that, like, even I myself would not, if I was in any of these people's position, would not care what other people think. Because at the end of the day, you have your own thing going on, and then that should be your focus, not what other people are doing.
By the way, I forgot to mention, Brendan and Brian also threatened to go public with Bobby and Khalyla's breakup because at the time they hadn't told their viewers about it. In my opinion, Bobby Lee was the victim in all of this, and even though Khalyla was involved and things were being said about her as well, no one seemed to care that Bobby was physically threatened and effectively blackmailed by one of the biggest bullies on the internet. She just wanted to know what Joe Rogan thought. That's why I think Bobby needed to draw the line in the sand years ago and move on from her. She's clearly just an opportunistic social climber who used Bobby Lee to get rich and famous, and now that she's moved on, she can't seem to let go. And same goes for Bobby. This whole thing is just so fucking toxic. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how they address the crazy backlash against Khalyla, so make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any updates, as well as all of my uploads throughout the week. As always, shout out to all of
Great video. Great video. I hope this all makes sense. I could be wrong. I'm actually surprised I could sit through that, reliving that stuff. I guess not that I surprised. I'm just reminded why I don't follow this podcast and haven't thought about it in a very long time. It's funny because I used to listen to it all the time. Like, it was my jam, like it was my go-to, and then now it's like all these years later, I could care less, and now I even will make sure that I never consume more of this content unless you guys ask me to. Maybe we need to, I don't actually, you know what? I was gonna say maybe we need to react to the full podcast. I don't want to do that. I'll be honest. And I don't think anybody should. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's gonna get any better. Check out the next one. Bye-bye. This video is brought to you actually by viewers like you. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. Let's create new memories this 2025 on our road to 1 million subscribers. And with all that jazz out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I love y'all and enjoy the video.